Rosa pulled her SUV out of the dealership parking lot for the last time, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. She'd just quit her job. No backup plan, no safety net. She had 2 kids at home and bills to pay. The rational part of her brain was screaming that she'd made a terrible mistake. But the rest of her felt lighter than she had in years. Her phone, connected to the car's Bluetooth, rang again. David Chen's name appeared on the display. "Hi, David," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Rosa, I'm calling because I have a proposition for you. Before you say anything, just hear me out." "Okay." "Keanu mentioned you when he was here. Told me about how you showed him kindness when you didn't have to. How you were a single mother working for someone who didn't appreciate you. He spoke very highly of your character." Rosa felt tears threatening again. "That's kind of him." "The thing is," David continued, "I've been wanting to expand my team for a while now. I need someone with experience. Someone who understands customer service, someone with integrity. Would you be interested in coming to work for Premier Auto Gallery?" Rosa had to pull over. She literally couldn't drive and process what she was hearing at the same time. "Are you serious?" "Completely serious. I know you're currently employed, so I understand if you need time to think about it or give notice." "I just quit," Rosa blurted out. "Like literally 2 minutes ago." I walked out. There was a pause on the other end. Then David laughed. "Well, that's timing. What happened?" Rosa told him about the staff meeting, about finally speaking up, about walking out. As she talked, she kept expecting David to change his mind, to realize she was too much trouble or too risky to hire. But instead, he just listened. "Good for you," he said when she finished. "Takes courage to stand up like that. Here's what I'm thinking. Why don't you come in tomorrow morning? We'll talk about what position would be best, discuss salary and benefits, and if it feels right for both of us, we can get the paperwork started. How does that sound?" "It sounds amazing. Thank you. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll give us the same dedication and integrity you tried to give your last boss, even though he didn't deserve it. That's all I ask." After they hung up, Rosa just sat in her car for a few minutes, crying happy tears and laughing at how crazy life was. 20 minutes ago, she'd been unemployed and terrified. Now she had a job interview lined up at a place where she'd actually be respected. She drove home and told her kids everything. They didn't fully understand all of it, but they understood that Mama was happy, and that was enough for them. Meanwhile, back at Thompson's Premium Motors, Gerald was dealing with a full-scale crisis. 3 more staff members had quit after Rosa walked out, inspired by her courage. The phone kept ringing with customers canceling orders or demanding refunds. By the end of the week, Gerald had lost 17 major clients and 6 employees. But it wasn't just about the immediate losses. The video of him assaulting Keanu had fundamentally damaged his reputation in ways that couldn't be easily fixed. People didn't want to do business with someone they'd literally watched assault another human being. It didn't matter that he'd apologized. The image was out there, permanent and damning. 2 of his major manufacturers sent formal notices that they were reviewing his franchise agreements. If they pulled their brands from his dealership, he'd be ruined. He tried to set up meetings, tried to explain, tried to make promises about how things would change. But corporate offices had their own reputations to protect, and being associated with viral assault videos wasn't good for business. Gerald even tried to reach out to Keanu through various contacts, hoping for some kind of public statement that might help. Maybe if Keanu said it wasn't that big a deal, people would move on. But Keanu's representatives politely declined any meeting. The message that came back was simple and devastating. "Mr. Reeves has nothing further to say on this matter. He wishes Mr. Thompson well and hopes he learns from this experience." That was somehow worse than if Keanu had come after him aggressively. The restraint, the refusal to engage, it made Gerald look even smaller in comparison. 3 weeks after the incident, Gerald got a call from a business broker. "I heard you might be interested in selling." "I'm not selling," Gerald said automatically. "You should reconsider. Your revenue is down 40% from last month. Your reputation is damaged. You're facing potential franchise revocations. If you wait much longer, the business won't be worth anything." Gerald hung up without responding, but the conversation haunted him. Everything he'd built over the years was crumbling, and all because he'd judged someone by their appearance. He'd thrown away millions of dollars and destroyed his reputation over a pair of faded jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd spent years obsessing over surface-level things, image, status, appearance, and now those very things were being used to judge him. People saw that video and judged his character based on 30 seconds of footage. They didn't know his whole story, didn't know about the years of hard work, didn't care about his explanations. They just saw an arrogant man assaulting someone and decided that was all they needed to know. For the first time in a long time, Gerald understood what it felt like to be dismissed based on a superficial judgment. It didn't feel good. By the end of the month, he made the hardest decision of his professional life. He called the business broker back and told him to find a buyer. While Gerald's world was falling apart, something beautiful was happening at Premier Auto Gallery. David had hired Rosa as a sales manager, recognizing that her years of experience and her natural empathy made her perfect for a leadership role. She'd been nervous at first, worried she didn't have enough experience for management, but David believed in her, and she was thriving. Without Gerald's constant criticism and negativity weighing her down, Rosa discovered she was actually really good at this. She was excellent with customers, patient and understanding. She knew how to listen to what people actually needed instead of just trying to push the most expensive option. The rest of the staff loved her because she treated them with respect, remembered details about their lives, celebrated their successes. Within her first month, Rosa had helped close more deals than anyone else on the team. More importantly, customer satisfaction scores went through the roof. People left reviews specifically mentioning her by name, talking about how she'd made the car buying experience actually pleasant. David had also made another strategic decision. When he heard Gerald's dealership was for sale, he'd started looking into purchasing it. His business had gotten such a boost from Keanu's purchase and the subsequent positive publicity that he actually had the capital to expand. After some negotiation, he bought Gerald's location for significantly less than it would have been worth before the scandal. The day the sale went through, David called an all-staff meeting at his original location. Everyone gathered, curious about what was happening. "I have some big news," David announced. "We just acquired the Thompson's Premium Motors location. We're going to rebrand it as our second Premier Auto Gallery site." Cheers erupted from the staff. This was huge for the company, for all of them. "But that's not all," David continued. "I need someone to manage that location, someone I trust completely, someone who understands our values and can help build a positive culture there. Rosa, I'd like you to take on that role if you're interested." Rosa stood there stunned as everyone applauded. She'd been at the company for barely a month, and David was offering her a chance to run an entire dealership location. Her own team, her own decisions, the opportunity to create the kind of workplace she'd always wished for. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice breaking. "That's a lot of responsibility." "I'm completely sure. You've already proven what you're capable of. I think you'll do amazing things with it." The grand reopening of the second Premier Auto Gallery location was scheduled for a Saturday morning. David had organized a small celebration, nothing too fancy, just some balloons, refreshments, and a chance for the community to come see the renovated space. Many of Gerald's former employees who hadn't found new jobs had been offered positions, and most had accepted, grateful for a second chance under better management. Rosa arrived early that morning. Still not quite believing this was real, she walked through the showroom, the same space where she'd been made to feel small for so long, and it felt completely different now. They'd repainted, rearranged everything, brought in plants and better lighting. But more than the physical changes, the energy was different. It felt welcoming now, warm instead of cold and intimidating. Around 9 o'clock, people started arriving. Former customers who'd left during the scandal came by to check out the new management. Community members came out of curiosity. Other business owners from the area stopped in to congratulate David on the expansion. And then, around 10:30, a familiar motorcycle pulled into the parking lot. Keanu Reeves took off his helmet, ran a hand through his hair, and walked toward the entrance. He was dressed casually as always, jeans and a t-shirt, and Rosa felt herself starting to cry as soon as she saw him. She met him at the door. "You came. I heard there was a grand opening," Keanu said with that gentle smile of his. "Thought I should stop by and see how things turned out." "I can't believe this is all real," Rosa said. "A month ago I was barely holding my life together, and now I'm managing a dealership. I have a career, not just a job. My kids are in a better school district. I can actually save money." All because you showed me that kindness matters. You showed yourself that, Keanu corrected gently. You're the one who risked your job to apologize to a stranger. You're the one who stood up in that meeting and spoke the truth. You're the one who's doing excellent work here. I just helped open a door. You're the one who walked through it. David came over to join them, shaking Keanu's hand enthusiastically. I'm glad you could make it. I wanted to thank you personally. What you did buying those vehicles from us, it changed everything. How are the organizations liking them? Keanu asked. They love them. I've been getting thank you cards and emails all month. One of the youth homeless shelters said the van you bought them has already transported over 200 kids to job interviews and appointments. You've made a real difference. As they talked, a local news crew showed up, having heard that Keanu might make an appearance. The reporter approached with her cameraman, asking if Keanu would be willing to answer a few questions. Sure, he agreed, but I want to make sure Rosa and David get the credit they deserve. They're the real story here. The reporter asked the obvious question. A few weeks ago, a video went viral of you being assaulted and thrown out of a car dealership. Now you're here celebrating the reopening of a competing dealership under new management. Can you talk about what happened? Keanu was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. I think the situation speaks for itself. I experienced bad treatment at one business and chose to give my business to someone else. That's how the free market works. The outcome, with Gerald Thompson selling his dealership and David expanding, that's just natural consequences of how people choose to treat others. Do you have any message for Mr. Thompson? I hope he learns from this experience. I believe in second chances for people who genuinely want to grow. We all make mistakes. The question is whether we learn from them and become better, or whether we just get bitter. He paused. I also want to say that I'm not interested in keeping this story going. What's done is done. I'm much more interested in celebrating the positive things that came out of it. Rosa's success, David's expansion, the charitable organizations that now have reliable vehicles. That's what I want people to focus on. What about Rosa specifically? She worked for Thompson. Then you bought her a vehicle and now she's managing this location. That's quite a story. Keanu looked at Rosa with genuine warmth. Rosa showed kindness when she didn't have to, when it might have cost her something. That's real character. She deserves every good thing that's happening to her. I just gave her a car. She's building a career through her own hard work and integrity. After the interview, as the crowd grew and the celebration continued, Keanu found a quiet moment to speak with Rosa privately. Can I ask you something? She said. Why did you do all this? I mean, really? It would have been so much easier to just forget about what happened and move on. Keanu thought about it. A long time ago, someone told me that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Gerald tried to humiliate me, tried to make me feel worthless. I could have responded with anger, could have used my resources to destroy him directly, but that would have just created more negativity in the world. Instead, I chose to create something positive, to help people who deserved help. And look at what happened. You have a new career. David's business is thriving. Those charitable organizations are helping people. Multiple staff members found better jobs. That's a lot of good that came from one bad moment. But Gerald lost everything. Gerald created his own consequences. I didn't destroy him. His own actions did that. I just chose not to continue supporting someone who treated people badly. There's a difference, Rosa nodded slowly. You know what the best part is? I used to think being kind was a weakness, that nice people finished last. Gerald certainly believed that, but you proved that's not true. Being kind and having integrity, those are actually strengths. They're what created all of this. Exactly, Keanu said. The world tries to tell us we have to be ruthless to succeed, that kindness is naive. But that's not true. Kindness is powerful. It creates ripples we can't even see. You showed me kindness on a random afternoon, and look at where we are now. As Keanu prepared to leave, dozens of people wanted to talk to him, take pictures, thank him. He was gracious with everyone, but Rosa could tell he was ready for some quiet. That was one of the things she'd learned about him. For all his fame, he was fundamentally a private person who did good things because it felt right, not because he wanted attention. Before he left, he pulled David aside. Take care of her, he said, nodding toward Rosa. She's special. Don't let her forget that. I won't, David promised. You have my word. Keanu rode away on his motorcycle, leaving behind a dealership full of people whose lives had been changed by a simple choice to respond to negativity with kindness. 6 months later, both premier auto gallery locations were thriving. Rosa had built an incredible team at the second location, creating a work culture based on respect and support. She'd also started a mentorship program for single mothers in the community, helping them develop professional skills and find good jobs. It was her way of paying forward what had been given to her. Gerald Thompson had moved to another state, taking a job as a sales associate at a small dealership. The demotion was humbling, working for someone else after years of being the boss. But people who knew him said he seemed different, quieter, more thoughtful. He didn't talk about his past much, but when he did, he admitted he'd learned a hard lesson about judging people. One evening, Rosa was locking up the dealership when she got a text from a number she didn't recognize. It was a simple message. How we treat people when we think no one is watching defines who we truly are. You're proof that good people win in the end. Keep being you. She smiled, saved the message, and drove home in her silver SUV to her kids, to her new life, to all the possibilities that had opened up because someone had chosen kindness over revenge. And somewhere across the city, Keanu Reeves was sitting in his garden with a cup of tea, thinking about karma and consequences and the beautiful way the universe sometimes balances itself out when we give it a little help. Rosa Martinez had just finished tucking her kids into bed when her phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize, but something told her to answer it anyway. Hello? Hi, is this Rosa Martinez? A friendly male voice. Yes, this is she. My name is David Chen. I own Premier Auto Gallery. I'm calling because someone has arranged a delivery for you, and I wanted to confirm your address and set up a time that works for you. Rosa's heart started beating faster. She'd been texting with Keanu over the past couple of days, but part of her still couldn't quite believe it was real. Is this about the vehicle? Yes, ma'am. A brand new silver SUV fully loaded. We have it detailed and ready to go. We just need to know when we can bring it to you. Rosa sat down heavily on her couch, her hand shaking slightly. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble processing this. This is really happening? David's voice was warm and understanding. It's really happening. And if you don't mind me saying, whoever arranged this clearly thinks very highly of you. He made sure to get you one of the nicest vehicles on our lot. Tears started rolling down Rosa's cheeks. She'd been holding it together, trying to stay practical and not get too emotional, but now it was all hitting her. I don't know what I did to deserve this. From what I understand, you were kind when someone needed it. Sometimes that's enough. They arranged for the delivery to happen on Saturday morning. Rosa would have the day off from the dealership and her kids would be home to see it. David explained that the vehicle was completely paid for, registered in her name with insurance covered for the next 3 years. There was even a prepaid maintenance plan so she wouldn't have to worry about service costs. After she hung up, Rosa just sat there crying for a while. Happy tears, overwhelmed tears, grateful tears all mixed together. Her daughter, hearing her mother's soft sobs, came out of her bedroom. Mama, why are you crying? What's wrong? Rosa pulled her daughter into a hug. Nothing's wrong, baby. Something really, really good just happened. Something I never expected. She couldn't sleep much that night. She kept thinking about how much her life was about to change. She'd been driving an old sedan that broke down every few months, costing her money she didn't have for repairs. She'd been saving up for a better car, putting away $20 or $30 whenever she could, knowing it would take years to save enough for a down payment. And now, just like that, she had a brand new vehicle. A safe, reliable car to drive her kids to school in, something she could count on. But it wasn't just about the car, though. That was huge. It was about being seen. About someone recognizing that she mattered, that her kindness had value. For so long at the dealership, she'd felt invisible or worse, like a nuisance Gerald barely tolerated. She'd started to believe that maybe that's all she was worth. This felt like the universe telling her something different. Saturday morning came and Rosa was up early, more excited than her kids on Christmas morning. She'd told them something special was happening but kept the details vague, wanting to see their faces when they realized. Around 10 o'clock, a truck pulled up outside her apartment complex carrying the most beautiful silver SUV Rosa had ever seen. David Chen himself had come to deliver it, along with one of his staff members. When Rosa opened her door, both her kids pressed against her legs, curious about what was happening. Good morning, David said with a big smile. We've got a delivery for the Martinez family. As they unloaded the SUV and David walked Rosa through all its features, her kids' eyes got bigger and bigger. Her son Miguel kept asking, "Is that really ours?" Her daughter Luna just stood there with her mouth open. When David handed Rosa the keys, she had to wipe away tears again. "I don't know how to thank you. Or how to thank Keanu. This is just, you already thanked us by being someone worth helping," David said. Then he handed her an envelope. "This is from Keanu. He asked me to give it to you with the car." After David left, Rosa sat in the driver's seat of her new SUV with her kids in the back and opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. "Rosa, you didn't have to come outside that day to apologize for something that wasn't your fault. You didn't have to risk your boss's anger to show kindness to a stranger. But you did, because that's who you are. This is my way of saying thank you, but more than that, it's my way of saying keep being that person. The world needs more people like you. I hope this makes your life a little easier and helps you show your kids that kindness matters. All the best, Keanu." Rosa read it 3 times, then carefully folded it and put it back in the envelope. She'd keep this note forever. But while Rosa was experiencing one of the best moments of her life, something else was unfolding across town. Gerald Thompson was in his office at the dealership, reviewing sales figures for the week, when his sales manager, Vincent, knocked on his door. "Got a minute, boss?" "What is it?" Gerald didn't look up from his computer. "I just heard something from a friend who works at Premier. Thought you should know." That got Gerald's attention. He looked up. "What about them?" Vincent looked uncomfortable. "They just made a massive sale. 10 vehicles. All luxury models. Over $2 million, Gerald's face darkened. "How did those amateurs pull that off? Who was the buyer?" Vincent hesitated. "That's the thing. The buyer was Keanu Reeves." The name hung in the air for a moment. Gerald's mind was racing. Keanu Reeves? The actor? Why did that name seem familiar in a way that had nothing to do with movies? Then it clicked. The guy he'd thrown out earlier that week. The scruffy-looking man in the worn jeans who he'd assumed was nobody. That was Keanu Reeves. Gerald felt his face go hot. "That was... You're telling me the guy I kicked out was actually..." "Yeah," Vincent said quietly. "And according to my friend, Reeves specifically mentioned having a bad experience at another dealership. He told David Chen he wanted to give his business to someone who treated people with respect." Gerald stood up so fast his chair rolled backward and hit the wall. "That's impossible. That guy looked like he couldn't afford a used bicycle. How was I supposed to know?" "I don't know, boss." Maybe by I don't know asking, treating him like a potential customer instead of assuming. "Watch your tone," Gerald snapped. But his mind was spinning. $2 million. $2 million had just gone to his competitor because he'd judged someone by their clothes, and not just any someone. A world-famous actor with the kind of money that could make or break a dealership. But it was about to get worse. By Monday morning, the story had started spreading on social media. Someone at Premier Auto Gallery had posted about the huge sale, carefully not mentioning Keanu by name but saying a well-known celebrity had chosen them because of their commitment to respect and customer service. Within hours, people had figured out who it was. Then someone who'd been at Gerald's dealership that day posted their video. The footage was shaky, but you could clearly see Gerald pushing Keanu toward the door. You could see him throw the punch. You could hear him yelling. The video went viral. Within 24 hours, it had been viewed millions of times. People were outraged. Comments flooded in. "Imagine being so arrogant you assault Keanu Reeves and throw him out of your store. This man literally judged someone by their appearance and lost a $2 million sale. Karma is real. Keanu is known for being one of the nicest people in Hollywood, and this jerk treated him like trash. I hope this dealership goes out of business." Local news picked up the story. Then national news. Entertainment shows played the clip, discussing both the assault and what had happened afterward with the massive purchase at the competing dealership. Everyone was calling it a masterclass in how karma works. Gerald's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Angry customers called to cancel their orders. People who'd been considering buying from him went elsewhere. His staff started receiving threats online, even though they'd had nothing to do with it. The dealership's social media pages were flooded with one-star reviews. By Tuesday, Gerald was getting calls from the corporate offices of the manufacturers he sold for. They were concerned about the negative attention. They wanted to know what steps he was taking to address the situation. One brand was already talking about reviewing his franchise agreement. Gerald tried to contain the damage. He released a public apology, carefully worded by a lawyer. Thompson's Premium Motors regrets the incident that occurred last week. We pride ourselves on customer service, and this situation did not reflect our values. We are reviewing our policies and procedures to ensure this never happens again. But it rang hollow. People could see through it. He wasn't sorry for what he'd done. He was sorry he'd gotten caught, sorry it had cost him money and reputation. Rosa watched all of this unfold from the break room at the dealership. Other staff members were talking about it in hushed voices. Everyone knew what had happened. Everyone had seen the video. The atmosphere in the dealership had completely changed. It felt like everyone was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Gerald had been avoiding everyone, hiding in his office. But on Wednesday, he called an all-staff meeting. Everyone gathered in the showroom after closing time. Gerald stood in front of them, and Rosa could see he looked haggard, like he hadn't slept in days. Good, she thought, then immediately felt a little guilty for thinking it. I'm sure you've all seen what's been happening, Gerald began. The media attention, the reviews, the social media posts. It's been a difficult week. Someone in the back coughed, and it sounded suspiciously like a laugh. Gerald's jaw tightened. We need to move forward. I need each of you to reach out to your clients, reassure them that we're still providing excellent service. I need you to post positive things about working here. We need to change the narrative. Rosa felt something building in her chest. For 2 years, she'd kept her mouth shut. Accepted Gerald's condescension, his rudeness, his way of making her feel small. She'd told herself she needed this job, that she couldn't risk speaking up. But something had changed. Maybe it was the new car sitting in her parking spot. Maybe it was Keanu's note telling her to keep being who she was. Maybe it was just that she'd finally had enough. She raised her hand. Gerald looked surprised. Yes, Rosa? I have a question. Her voice was shaking a little, but she kept going. You say you want us to post positive things about working here. But what positive things should we post? Because honestly, this hasn't been a positive place to work for a long time. The room went completely silent. Every staff member turned to look at her. Gerald's face was turning red. Rosa, I don't think this is the appropriate time, or when is the appropriate time? She interrupted. Because we've all been wanting to say this stuff for years, but we've been too scared. You treat us badly. You disrespect customers. You judge people before you even know them. What happened with Keanu Reeves wasn't some one-time mistake. That's who you are. You're out of line, Gerald said, his voice low and dangerous. Maybe, but I'm also right. Rosa was standing now, her whole body trembling but her voice getting stronger. And you know what? I quit. I don't need to work somewhere where basic human decency is too much to ask for. And then she walked out. Just like that. She grabbed her purse from the break room, walked through the showroom past all her shocked co-workers, and out into the parking lot where her beautiful new SUV was waiting. As she sat in the driver's seat, her hands shaking from adrenaline, her phone rang. It was David Chen. Rosa? I hope I'm not calling it a bad time. Actually, she said, your timing is perfect. 2 days had passed since the incident at Gerald's dealership, and Keanu had spent most of that time thinking. He'd gone home that first evening, made himself some tea, and sat in his garden as the sun went down, just processing everything. The punch to his shoulder had left a small bruise. Nothing serious, but every time he moved and felt that dull ache, it reminded him of what had happened. But more than that, he kept thinking about Rosa, a single mother working for a man who didn't respect her, staying in that situation because she needed to feed her kids. How many times had he heard similar stories? How many good people were stuck in bad situations just trying to survive? Keanu had always believed in using his resources to help others. He donated to children's hospitals, cancer research, and various other causes over the years. He'd bought motorcycles for his stunt team, given away millions to the crew members who'd helped make his movies successful. Money was just a tool to him, a way to make life better for the people around him. And sitting in his garden that evening, an idea had come to him. Something that felt right. Now at 10 in the morning on a sunny Wednesday, Keanu was back at Premier Auto Gallery, but this time he'd called ahead. David Chen greeted him at the door with that same genuine warmth he'd shown before. Keanu, good to see you again. Come on back to my office where we can talk more comfortably. David's office was modest, just a desk, some filing cabinets, and a few family photos on the wall. Keanu could see David with his wife and 3 kids in various pictures, beach vacations and birthday parties and school graduations. It made him smile. "Can I be straight with you about something?" Keanu asked once they'd sat down. "Of course. I appreciate straightforward conversation. The other day when I came in, I told you I'd had a bad experience at another dealership. It was actually worse than I made it sound. The manager there, he physically threw me out. Actually punched me and shoved me onto the sidewalk." David's eyes widened. "What, that's assault? Did you report it to the police?" Keanu shook his head. "No, I didn't. I'm not interested in going down that road. But it got me thinking about a lot of things. About how people treat each other. About using resources to create positive change instead of just reacting to negative situations." "I'm listening," David said, leaning forward. "I work with several charitable organizations," Keanu explained. "Groups that help homeless youth, cancer patients, children's hospitals, that kind of thing. They often need vehicles for transportation, getting people to appointments, moving supplies, things like that. I've been thinking about setting up a program to provide them with reliable vehicles." David nodded slowly. "That's incredibly generous. Here's what I'd like to do," Keanu continued. "I want to purchase 10 vehicles from you. A mix of SUVs and vans, practical vehicles that these organizations can actually use. Good, reliable cars that will last. And I'd like to do it today." David sat back in his chair, clearly surprised. 10 vehicles? That's... He pulled out a calculator and started punching numbers. "That's going to be well over $2 million, depending on which specific models we're talking about." "I understand. Is that going to be a problem?" "A problem? No, not at all. It's just, that's a significant purchase. Are you sure you want to move that quickly? Don't you want to think about it? Maybe consult with the organizations first about what they need?" Keanu smiled. This was exactly why he'd come back to David. The man wasn't just jumping at a huge sale. He was actually checking to make sure Keanu had thought it through. "I've already reached out to them," Keanu said. "I know what they need. And I'd like to move quickly because, honestly, they need the help now, not 6 months from now." David studied him for a moment. "Can I ask what made you decide to do this? And why here specifically?" "Because you treated me like a human being," Keanu said simply. "You didn't judge me by my clothes or try to size up my bank account before deciding if I was worth your time. You were just decent and respectful. That matters to me. And if I'm going to spend $2 million somewhere, I'd rather it go to someone who actually deserves it." Understanding dawned on David's face. "The dealership where you had the bad experience, that was Thompson's Premium Motors, wasn't it?" Keanu didn't answer directly, but his slight nod was enough. David let out a long breath. "I've known Gerald Thompson for about 15 years. We're competitors, obviously, but I've tried to maintain a professional relationship. The truth is, he's been dominating this market for a while now. His dealership is 4 times the size of mine, and he's not afraid to play dirty to keep it that way. He spreads rumors about other dealers, poaches our staff with big promises he doesn't always keep, that kind of thing. I've lost customers to him simply because his showroom is flashier." "Sounds like a tough situation," Keanu said. "It has been. My father started this business on the principle that if you treat people right, you'll succeed. But sometimes it feels like being a good person puts you at a disadvantage against someone who's willing to do whatever it takes." David paused. "This purchase, Keanu, it would change things for us. Not just the money, though that obviously helps. But the reputation boost, the word of mouth, the fact that we helped facilitate something good, that matters in this business." "Then let's make it happen," Keanu said. They spent the next 3 hours going over details. Keanu wasn't just throwing money around randomly. He asked intelligent questions about reliability, maintenance costs, fuel efficiency. He wanted to make sure these vehicles would serve the organizations well for years to come. David appreciated the thoughtfulness and made honest recommendations, even steering Keanu away from a couple of higher-priced options toward more practical choices. By early afternoon, they'd selected 10 vehicles, 6 SUVs of various sizes and 4 cargo vans. David had even offered to customize some of them with the organization's logos at no extra charge, and to set up a maintenance program so the vehicles would be serviced regularly at a discount. "There's one more thing," Keanu said, as they were finalizing the paperwork. "One of the vehicles, that silver SUV we looked at, I want that delivered to someone specific." "Of course. Who should we deliver it to?" "Her name is Rosa Martinez. She works at Thompson's dealership." Keanu pulled out a piece of paper where he'd written down her contact information. He'd found her on social media and reached out, explaining what he wanted to do. She'd been shocked, tried to refuse, but he'd insisted. David looked at the name. Is this the woman who came out to apologize to you? Yes. She's a single mother with 2 kids, working for a man who doesn't appreciate her. She showed me kindness when she didn't have to, when it might have cost her something to do it. I'd like to do something kind for her in return. David's eyes got a little shiny. He cleared his throat. You know, I've been in this business for 25 years and I've never met anyone quite like you. I'm just trying to do the right thing, Keanu said. Most people say that. You actually do it. The financial part took another hour. Keanu's accountant had to be brought in by phone to verify the transfer of funds. David's staff was sworn to secrecy for now, though David admitted word would probably get out eventually. These things always did. As they were wrapping up, David asked, "What do you think will happen when Gerald finds out?" "He's going to lose his mind." Keanu shrugged. "I'm not doing this to hurt him. I'm doing this to help people who need it, and to support a business that deserves support. What Gerald does with that information is up to him. Still, he's not going to take it well." "Probably not, but that's not my problem." Before Keanu left, David insisted on taking him on a tour of their service department. He introduced Keanu to the mechanics, the detailing crew, the parts manager. Everyone was friendly and seemed genuinely happy to be there. It was such a different energy from what Keanu had experienced at Gerald's place. "These are good people," David said as they walked back to the showroom. "Most of them have been with me for years. I try to pay them fairly, give them good benefits, treat them like family. When you do that, they take pride in their work. Everyone wins. That's how it should be." Keanu agreed. As Keanu was about to leave, David stopped him. "Thank you. I don't just mean for the business. I mean for reminding me why I do this. When you're competing against someone like Gerald, someone who seems to win by being ruthless, you start to wonder if maybe you're doing it wrong, if maybe nice guys really do finish last. But this, what you're doing, it proves that good things come to people who stay true to their values." Keanu shook his hand firmly. "Keep being one of the good guys, David. The world needs more people like you." On his way out, Keanu passed a young couple who'd just walked in. David greeted them with the same warmth he'd shown Keanu, not knowing if they were about to spend $5,000 or $50,000. That was the difference, Keanu thought. David saw people, not dollar signs. In his car, Keanu sat for a moment before starting the engine. His phone buzzed with a text from Rosa. "I still can't believe you're doing this. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and it will have been a dream. Thank you doesn't feel like enough, but thank you." He texted back. "You showed kindness when it cost you something. That deserves to be recognized. Enjoy the SUV. You've earned it." As he drove away from Premier Auto Gallery, Keanu couldn't help but smile. In 2 days, Rosa would have a reliable vehicle. 10 charitable organizations would have the transportation they desperately needed. David's business would get a significant boost. All of that felt good, but there was something else too. Something he hadn't really admitted to himself until now. Gerald had tried to make him feel small, tried to diminish him based on nothing but superficial judgment. And instead of getting angry or seeking revenge, Keanu had turned that negative experience into something positive. He'd created ripples of good that would spread out in ways he might never fully see. That evening, as Keanu sat in his garden again with a cup of tea, he thought about karma. Not the simplified version where bad things happen to bad people and good things happen to good people. The real thing. The Buddhist concept he'd studied for years. The idea that our actions create energy that flows out into the world and comes back to us in unexpected ways. Gerald had created negative energy with his actions. That energy was about to come back to him, though not in the way anyone might expect. Keanu hadn't done anything to hurt the man. He'd simply chosen to support someone else instead. But in a competitive business where reputation and word of mouth mattered, that choice would have consequences. Keanu sipped his tea and watched the stars come out. He didn't know exactly how things would unfold from here, but he had a feeling it was going to be interesting. Not because he wanted Gerald to suffer, but because he'd learned over the years that the universe has a way of balancing things out. Sometimes, it just needed a little help from someone willing to do the right thing. Keanu sat on that bench for about 20 minutes, just breathing and letting his heart rate settle. People walked past him, most not giving him a second glance. A bus came and went. The sun shifted slightly in the sky. He watched it all with the kind of patience that comes from years of meditation and martial arts training. from learning how to be present in the moment even when that moment is uncomfortable. His shoulder still throbbed where Gerald had hit him. It wasn't serious, just a dull ache that would probably leave a bruise. But it wasn't the physical pain that stuck with him. It was the look in Gerald's eyes, that instant judgment. That certainty that he knew everything about Keanu, based on nothing more than clothes and appearance. After a while, Keanu heard quick footsteps approaching. He looked up to see a young woman hurrying toward him. She was wearing the same professional attire as the other dealership staff, a dark blazer and pressed pants. But she'd been running and looked flustered. Her name tag read Rosa. "I'm so sorry," she said, slightly out of breath as she reached him. "I am so sorry about what happened in there." Keanu stood up, concerned.
Hey, it's okay.
"You don't need to apologize. You didn't do anything. But I worked there and that was..." She struggled for words. "That was horrible. Mr. Thompson had no right to treat you like that. No right at all." "It's all right," Keanu said gently. "Really?" But Rosa was shaking her head and Keanu could see she was genuinely upset. Her eyes were shiny with tears she was trying to hold back. "It's not all right. I've worked there for 2 years and I've seen him be rude to people before, but never like that. Never physical. I feel sick about it." Keanu gestured to the bench. "Do you want to sit down for a minute?" She hesitated, glancing back toward the dealership. "I probably shouldn't. I'm supposed to be working, and if Mr. Thompson sees me out here with you..." She trailed off, but the implication was clear. "He'll give you trouble?" Rosa nodded. "He's not exactly understanding. But I couldn't just stay in there and act like everything was fine. Someone had to say something." There was something brave about that, Keanu thought. This young woman was risking her job just to come out and apologize for something that wasn't her fault. That said something about her character. "What's your name?" he asked. "Rosa. Rosa Martinez." "It's nice to meet you, Rosa. I'm Keanu." She let out a small, nervous laugh. "I know who you are. I recognized you the second you walked in. I wanted to help you, but Mr. Thompson..." She stopped, looking embarrassed. "He wouldn't let you," Keanu finished for her. "He never does. He has this thing about being the one to handle what he calls important clients. And anyone who doesn't look like an important client, he just..." She made a frustrated gesture. "He treats them like they're nothing, like they're bothering him just by existing in his space." Keanu could hear the pain in her voice, and he suspected this wasn't just about what happened to him. "Does he treat you that way too?" Rosa looked down at her shoes. "Sometimes. He treats all the staff pretty badly, honestly. But we need the jobs, you know? It's not easy finding good work right now, especially work that pays enough to actually live on." She paused, then added quietly, "I have 2 kids at home, a boy and a girl, 7 and 9. Their father isn't in the picture, so it's just me. I can't afford to lose this job even if my boss is..." She trailed off again. Keanu felt something tighten in his chest. Here was someone working for a man who clearly didn't respect her, staying in a bad situation because she had children to feed. It was a story he'd heard too many times in too many contexts. "Your kids are lucky to have you," he said. Rosa smiled for the first time, and it completely changed her face. "They're good kids. They make all the difficult stuff worth it." They stood there for a moment in companionable silence. A breeze picked up, carrying the smell of food from a nearby restaurant. Traffic hummed in the background. It was such a normal moment, 2 people just talking on a street corner, but Keanu knew he'd remember it. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure. Are there other car dealerships around here? Good ones?" Rosa blinked, surprised by the question. Yeah. There's actually one about 15 minutes from here. Premier Auto Gallery. The owner's name is David Chen. I've heard good things about them, actually. They're smaller than where I work, more family-owned." "Why?" Keanu smiled. "Just curious." Rosa studied his face for a moment, and something seemed to click. "You're still going to buy a car, aren't you? You're just going to go somewhere else." "Maybe." "Good." She said it fiercely. "You should. Mr. Thompson doesn't deserve your business. He doesn't deserve anyone's business treating people the way he does." Then she caught herself. "Sorry, I shouldn't talk about my boss like that." "Your secret's safe with me," Keanu assured her. She checked her phone and grimaced. "I really should get back before someone notices I'm gone." She started to turn away, then stopped and looked back at him. "For what it's worth, I think you're one of the nicest people I've ever met." The way you stayed calm in there, even when he was being so awful. Most people would have started yelling or made a huge scene, but you just took it and walked away. That takes real strength. Thank you, Rosa, and thank you for coming out here. It means more than you know." She gave him one more small smile, then hurried back toward the dealership, her heels clicking against the pavement. Keanu watched her go, this woman who'd risked her boss's anger just to do the right thing. He stood there a while longer, thinking. His first instinct had been to just let it go, to chalk it up to one unpleasant interaction and move on with his day. He'd dealt with worse over the years, but something Rosa had said stuck with him. The way Gerald treated all his staff badly, the way he judged people before even speaking to them. How many other people had walked into that dealership and been made to feel small, and more than that, how many Rosas were out there? Good people stuck in bad situations with bosses who didn't appreciate them. Keanu pulled out his phone and did a quick search for Premier Auto Gallery. He found their website easily enough. The photos showed a smaller showroom than Gerald's place, but everything looked clean and professional. There were pictures of the owner, David Chen, with his family. The About Us section talked about being part of the community, treating every customer with respect regardless of their budget. It had that genuine feel that some businesses have, where you can tell the people running it actually care. He checked the time. They'd be open for another few hours. He could head over there now, or he could wait. Part of him wanted to just go home, take a hot shower, and forget this whole afternoon had happened. But another part of him, the part that had been shaped by decades of studying philosophy and martial arts, the part that believed in the idea that how we respond to negative situations defines who we are, that part was telling him something different. Keanu flagged down a passing taxi. The driver, an older man with kind eyes, pulled over. "Where to?" he asked as Keanu slid into the back seat. "Premier Auto Gallery. You know it?" "Sure do. My nephew bought a truck there last year. Said they treated him real fair." "Good to hear," Keanu said, settling back into the seat. As the taxi merged into traffic, Keanu looked out the window at the city passing by. Los Angeles was funny like that. It could be beautiful and ugly in the same breath. Full of dreams and disappointments, kindness and cruelty, all mixed together in this sprawling, chaotic place. The drive took about 20 minutes with traffic. When they pulled up to Premier Auto Gallery, Keanu immediately noticed the difference. It was smaller, like Rosa had said, but there was something welcoming about it. The building was newer but not ostentatious. The lot had maybe 30 vehicles compared to Gerald's 100+, but everything was neat and well-maintained. Keanu paid the driver and added a generous tip. "Thanks for the ride." "No problem, buddy. Hope you find what you're looking for." As Keanu walked toward the entrance, he felt more relaxed than he had all afternoon. No one rushed out to judge him. No one looked at him suspiciously. There was just a normal car dealership going about its business. Inside, the showroom was comfortable. Not as flashy as Gerald's place, but that was fine. There was a small waiting area with a coffee machine and some magazines. A few customers were browsing. A salesperson was explaining the features of a hybrid SUV to a young couple.